Hi guys, and welcome to another tutorial. So today I wanted to talk to you about dynamic processing. Now dynamic processing is the first stage of mixing. So you've already gotten your nice, crisp, clean vocal that you've recorded in, and you made sure that you didn't peak on any of the levels. Now what you need to do is you need to apply a gate, compression and EQ. Well, what are these? Well, a gate is a VST effect that will cut out all of the audio that you don't want. So you might have hissing, you might have background noise, anything that is below a certain threshold that is super quiet that you don't want to hear. Now most of them, when you apply the effect, it will simply have a slider that when you raise it, any audio below that certain level will get cut out. They're quite simple to use and most of them are built into most of the DAWs that we talked about previously. Next up's compression. Now compression has a lot of uses, but for now let's just talk about the basics. If you want to begin using compression, there are various aspects to it. First of all, you've got your threshold. This is the level at which the compression starts to take effect. Next, you've got your ratio. This is how much the compression will actually compress the audio. And next, you've got your attack and release. This is how quickly it begins to compress the audio above that threshold to that ratio. And the release is how long it takes for it to release it. You still with me? Good, because it's going to get a lot more complicated. So compression changes the audio as a whole, but it can also change things like snare drums and kick drums to sound completely different. So for instance, let's play a kick drum now. And let's play that same kick drum with some compression. So for instance, when you're using a compressor on a vocal, it's to bring the loud parts down and the quiet parts up. This brings the whole vocal closer together and makes it easier to hear in a recording. You can shape a vocal and its sound just by how you use a compressor, but this starts to get a bit more complicated. So if you bring the threshold down quite a lot, it will affect most of the vocal, but you could have a low threshold. So the whole vocal is being compressed, but only by a small amount. You could also bring the compressor down so it only affects the top part, but give it a high ratio and a quick attack. This means that any time that you go loud and aggressive, it brings the vocal into check very quickly, but essentially anything that's quiet will maybe get lost into the background. It depends what type of music you're really going for. So next there's EQ. EQ stands for equalization, and this means you can edit the bass, mids and treble of your audio file. When you open up an EQ, you'll notice it goes from 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. 20 is the low and 20,000 is the high. Now, vocal normally ranges at around 5,000 Hz, give or take, depending if it's a female or a male vocal. Now, if I take this recording right now and up it at about 5,000 Hz, you'll notice I get louder. If I dip it at 5,000 Hz, you'll notice I get significantly quieter. Now, there's also things called a low pass and a high pass filter. Now, a high pass filter is where you cut the EQ at a certain point and let only the high end audio through. And the low pass filter is where you do the opposite, cut it at the high end and only let the low through. So for instance, if I do this now, this is what a low pass filter would essentially sound like, and it would look something like this. And a high pass filter would sound a little bit like this and would look essentially like this. So to give you an idea of what those effects all sound like, this is what the audio sounds like without any of the gates, compression or EQ. Now, if I now add the audio, this is what it sounds like cleaned up. As you can see, it makes a massive difference and is essential to most post-processing. If you want to take it up to the next level, there's plenty you can do with all of these things, especially compression. Compression dramatically changes snares, kick drums, drums as a whole, and entire tracks. As a matter of fact, if you've ever heard of a thing called the loudness war, that is essentially to do with over-compressing audio, and is actually something I'm a little bit against. I try to keep as much clarity in my recordings as possible, whilst still leaning towards the popular sound that you've come to hear. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an insight into EQs, compressions, and gates. If you want to know more, let me know in the comments below, and if there's anything specific you want to know about any of the mixing side of things, then also let me know in the comments below and we can chat about it. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next video.